there's a part of us, the ego, that wants immediate gratification. I want instant empowerment, Michaiel. Just tell me what I need to do, what class I need to take, and I just want instant empowerment. Well, it doesn't work that way. And why? Why doesn't it work that way? Because you see, the path to empowerment is a journey. And each stage from self-awareness, you begin to shift and change. And as you shift and change and you start to see who you truly are, you integrate that into your self-image and your self-identity. And it operates, it shifts and changes your beliefs, your attitudes, your thoughts, and your feelings. And guess what? As you've known, for those of you who've taken the class that I've done on ending procrastination, which is about the 9 keys to creating positive change, that all change produces what? It's a test for some of you. All change, whether it's positive or negative, all change produces chaos. So to go from being totally disempowered and weak to becoming fully empowered would throw you into such chaos you wouldn't be able to function. So you take things in stages. The first stage, and you integrate self-awareness, and you take time to understand that, and you integrate it, and you grow through some chaos. Now, chaos is not just dark. There's light chaos. There's powerful, beautiful chaos. The ego often sees chaos as only negative, but no. If somebody throws you a surprise birthday party, you're going home and the lights are out, and you turn on the lights and all your friends are there. Oh my gosh, that's chaos, right? I wasn't expecting this, and all this light chaos and all this joy and all that. That's chaos. So chaos isn't just dark. But the journey of empowerment needs to be in stages of development. You don't want to just go from here to there, because you would be thrown into such chaos that your soul would protect you from that. So you take each stage, and that's part of why I developed an 8-week program on becoming the empowered self, so people can integrate and function with the first stage of self-empowerment that becomes self-acceptance. And then they work on the next stage, and you shift and change, and you expand, and you become more. And so the process of growth and change, even though the ego in you wants it immediately, to realize there's a reason that it takes time and space, that you are in time and space to integrate the process. And to have the fun of it, the joy of the journey of it, the joy of learning, the joy of understanding yourself, the joy of becoming more and discovering your spiritual powers, discovering and changing reality to align and to conform with your will, with your love, with your imagination, is what magic is. And you are a magical being. And so, 4th secret is what keeps you asleep, to know and to recognize and to heal and to change what keeps you asleep, what keeps you from waking up to your truth, what keeps you blinded to your power. What keeps you blinded to your power? And that is, there's 2 areas, there's actually more than 2 areas, but for today's time, I'm just going to go over these really quickly. The first one is your emotional anesthetics that numb you and that are comfortable because it's a numbing agent that you've used for many, many years to cope with life. You used it in your adolescence, as a child, as an adolescent, to try to cope with the struggle and with the pain and with the frustration and with growing up and not knowing who you were. You found certain emotions that you cloak yourself in, but ultimately they numb you to the truth of who you are. They numb you to the pain, absolutely, to the frustration, to the uncomfortability. But in the numbness, just like when you get, an injection, when you have dental work done and your side of your mouth is numb and you can barely talk, and you try to go eat lunch afterwards and your mouth is drooping because you bite your tongue and all of that. That's an anesthetic, right? Well, there are emotions that numb you to your power. The first one is apathy. Oh, I don't care. Aloofness and apathy. I don't care. Whatever happens, happens. I don't want to care about anything or anybody. I'm going to act like I'm indifferent and that I don't really care, and I'm going to be aloof because that separates me from my emotions, and I can numb out and just get through life. And when you do that, you will be disempowered your entire life. The second one is guilt. I'm always feeling guilty. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Everything I do, I'm sorry for because I feel so much guilt. I'm riddled with guilt. Are you one of those people that are always functioning with guilt? Guilt numbs you. It's a man-made and synthetic emotion. It's not even real. I talked about it on here on Insight Timer a couple of about 2 months ago on understanding the nature of guilt and releasing guilt. But it's a synthetic emotion. It's not real. It has no positive potential. So guilt is the second one. When you function and operate with guilt, you numb yourself to your power. The third one is pity. To feel sorry for yourself. Pity and martyrhood, which is a more sophisticated form of self-pity. The pity is being a victim, feeling powerless and victimized, and I feel sorry for myself, and I talk about what goes wrong all the time, and poor me, poor me, poor me. And another form of adult self-pity is overindulgence. Overindulgence in drinking, overindulgence in food, overindulgence in sex, overindulgence in whatever, sports, overindulgence in TV. Overindulging is a form of self-pity. And martyrhood is the silent sufferer. Poor me, the silent sufferer. Nobody understands me. I'm misunderstood and I'm unappreciated. I'm taken advantage of, and I'm overburdened by everyone's problems, and I'm not appreciated at work, and I'm got to be responsible for everybody else except for myself. That's martyrhood, and that numbs you. That's why people hang out there. That's why people love to be martyrs, is it numbs me. But martyrs are destructive. Martyrs are hostile. And self-pity is destructive. And even though it numbs me to my emotions, and I can sit and talk about what goes wrong in my life, I'm emotionally an anesthetic, and I cannot be powerful and maintain pity and martyrhood. I have to give it up. I have to be willing to pay the price to be powerful. To give up my apathy, to give up my guilt, to give up my pity, to give up my martyrhood. The fourth one is my hurt. The hurt from the past that I haven't resolved. I need to heal the hurt. And not ignoring it and denying it and pretending it didn't hurt. Now, if you were in a relationship or something happened in your childhood and you were hurt, to heal that inner child, to heal that part of you. Because hurt numbs you from your power. And shame, the feeling of shame that was dumped onto you as a child, as an adolescent. If you haven't resolved your shame, it numbs you to being powerful. And then finally is arrogance. That the arrogance moves into the next category, which is mental prisons. So the emotional anesthetics are apathy, guilt, pity, martyr, hurt, shame, pain. Those are what numbs us to our empowered self. That keeps you asleep. Mentally, our states of mind, and when I talk about the mental, it dips into the emotional, because the mental and emotional are kind of connected together. It's really hard to separate them. But mental prisons are those of blame. I'd rather blame than be powerful. I love to blame. The people out there, who can we blame? Who can we blame for this? Who's wrong? Who can we make wrong? The ego loves to blame. Loves to blame. And that's something you have to give up to be powerful. If you're dancing with blame all the time and you enjoy it because you get a cheap hit of power, the ego does, that's something you have to give up, because it's really hard to be powerful and keep blaming. Another one is righteousness, to be righteous. I've got to be right. I've got to make everybody else wrong, and my righteous anger, and I'm out there to correct and tell everybody the truth. This is how they're supposed to do this, and this is how they're supposed to be, and if they don't, they're wrong, and they're bad, and they're horrible people. Righteousness keeps you asleep, keeps you from your power. Righteous anger. Hopelessness and despair. To be hopeless. I'm just hopeless. I don't see a positive future. I don't anticipate anything good happening. Look at the state of the world. Watch the news. Who has hope for a positive future? Hopelessness, despair will keep you from your power, from being empowered. So these are the fourth component of what keeps you asleep, that keeps you from being empowered. Is, I mentioned the emotional anesthetics. Now I'm going into the mental prisons of blame, of righteous anger, of hopelessness and despair, of depression, depressing my emotions, repressing my feelings. That's what often depression is. It takes a lot of energy to hold down and shove down all my anger and rage. And after 10 or 20 or 30 years, I suddenly am waking up with no energy, because it has sucked the life force out of me after depressing my feelings for so long, and then I'm just depressed. Why are you depressed? I don't know. I just have no energy. Depression. It's one of the things that keeps you asleep. Self-doubt. Always doubting myself. I don't know. Is this right? Let me find out. Let's ask everybody to see what's going on. I don't have a sense of my own sense of evaluation, to think, to feel, to evaluate, to come up with my own decision. I'm so afraid I might be wrong. Why? What's wrong with being wrong? It's okay to be wrong in the pursuit, in the search for what's right. I've been wrong in the pursuit of what's right, but I'm not a bad person for being wrong, but it led me to what was right. I went down some dead ends, some dark alleys that didn't lead to where I thought they would lead, but that's called the life journey, the journey of life. It's not about doing it perfectly, it's about learning and exploring. And even if you go down and you learn something that isn't true, you can learn from it. Even if you fail, you can learn from the failure. It's not bad and wrong to fail. But there are judgments that we hold, which is the next component of the mental prison that keeps us locked up from our power is judgment. I judge myself, I judge other people, and judgments imprison the mind, they imprison the heart, they keep you stuck in the past, unable to be powerful. So we've talked about blame, we've talked about depression, we've talked about righteous anger, we've talked about hopelessness and despair, we've talked about self-doubt and judgment. All of those make up the prison in your mind that will keep you functioning in the disempowered path rather than the empowered journey to become whole, to find inner peace, to be all that you are destined to be. Because you see, as I mentioned, the journey of empowerment from self-awareness to self-realization, as I mentioned that, you will get there. It is your destiny. Whether you do it in this lifetime or another one, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. But you always will have to choose it. So instead of waiting for it to happen in another lifetime, why don't choose it now? Choose it now. You don't have to go through another lifetime of disempowerment. Because you know what? The truth is, if you're listening to this and you're getting a lot from this and your soul is tingling inside from the words that I'm talking about, then that's an indication that you're ready and that you've learned all the lessons that disempowerment can teach you. You've learned all the lessons of repression, of sabotage, of self-centeredness, of self-importance, of delusion, of destruction, of self-pity. You've learned all the lessons of failure and pain that they can teach you. Oh yeah, you might be able to learn a few more things and go a little deeper, but why? It's time to learn about the power and the beauty and the love and the majesty and the life without struggle, the freedom, the abundance, the joy, the love, the friendships, the belonging. That's, for some, scarier than the path of self-destruction. Because those are new lessons. And anything new scares the ego, oftentimes.